And welcome back into our coverage of SEC Media Days for 2024. Here in Dallas, it's day number 2, and the Georgia Bulldogs, one of the first teams to come through today. Tennessee is also here this morning. 2 more schools coming through this afternoon. Kirby Smart went before the reporters in the main room, did not get a single question from those reporters about the arrests related to traffic violations recently with some of his football players. He did finally get a question about that in the electronics room, and he did answer it by saying he was very disappointed in what has happened, that they have talked to the players about their driving habits. They are taking measures to punish those players who violate the law. Did not say anything about suspensions. He did say in some cases players will lose some of their NIL dollars because of traffic violations. He did tell some Georgia reporters prior to making the rounds that one of the players, a backup defensive back, has been kicked off the team as a result of his arrest. He did not elaborate any more related to any of the other players and their situations with their arrest because of the multitude of violations, 25 according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, since they had that tragedy a couple of years ago where 2 people were killed. Onto his football team, however, Smart going into his 9th year. What a record, 94-16, 13-1 last year, did not make the postseason playoffs, did destroy Florida State in the Orange Bowl. Carson Beck is back as his quarterback, says he loves him as his quarterback, loves him as a player. Experienced on the offensive line, he said, but not a lot of depth on their offensive line, which is a change for Georgia. In talking about NIL and how that's used today, he said that Georgia wins and recruits with their culture, that they don't promise any dollars up front to incoming players, that you have to earn your NIL dollars at Georgia. They do have 14 starters returning, 7 offense, 7 defense. And I mentioned the offensive line, 4 starters are back on the offensive line. Trevor Etienne, the brother of the former Clemson star Travis, one of those who had a vehicular issue, could be their starting running back, though the 2 Robinsons are back, but they did lose their top 2 running backs from last season. Over on the defensive side, their top 3 defensive linemen in terms of tacklers, those return. Malachi Starks is back at free safety. He's an All-American. Smell Munden is back at linebacker. Of course, he's got a traffic violation issue to deal with. So they have their typical array of outstanding defensive players returning. And offensively, Georgia figures to be stout once again with Beck. Terrific receivers coming back. Oscar Delp emerging as a star at tight end. I mentioned the returning offensive lineman. Over the last 3 years, including 2 national championships, Georgia has averaged at least 39 points per game. And on defense, over the last 3 years, they've given up no more than 16 points per game. So expect that trend to continue both offensively and defensively with this Georgia team. Of course, they open against Clemson in Atlanta, and no Gamecocks this year on the schedule for Georgia. The first time since South Carolina joined the SEC, I believe, that these 2 teams will not meet. So Georgia looks to be once again a national contender, certainly an SEC contender in 2024.